Minne Bruce Pratt. Minne Bruce lived a very ordinary young life. She was born and raised in Selma, Alabama, in an upper-class Southern home, taught to continue the traditions of the white South. Pratt joined a sorority at the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa, where she worked for a literary magazine and met her first husband, who she married in 1966. After pursuing her graduate work at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, she earned her Ph.D. in English literature and began establishing herself as a distinguished writer. After a 10-year marriage, resulting in a strained divorce, Minne Bruce Pratt came out publicly announcing that she's lesbian in 1975. As a response to this, her now ex-husband took custody of their children, Ben and Ramson, at ages 6 and 7. Pratt decided that she wouldn't even fight for custody, going off the advice of her lawyer. Minne Bruce would have faced criminal prosecution as a lesbian if she would have fought for legal custody of her children under the North Carolina statute. However, in a review of her own work, she's quoted saying, "I paid for my freedom with my children." But by staying true to her lesbian identity, she earns the respect and love of her sons. Although by North Carolina state law she couldn't be granted custody, thankfully she wasn't alienated from them.
In her writing, she tends to explore themes that reflect on her life, such as her divorce, childhood, and children. But in addition to writing novels, Pratt is also a poet, essayist, lesbian, feminist, educator, and professor of women and gender studies at Syracuse University. Minne Bruce receives a lot of praise for her influence in the LBGT community and for being so outspoken. However, it wasn't always that easy for her.
University. But when I left North Carolina and I went to Washington, I just taught these adjuncting classes, and if you've ever done that kind of work, you know it's very, very poorly paid. I had no health benefits, I had no retirement, I had only this very small income, and periodically I would be on unemployment insurance, because I'd be out of work. And I was an activist, and I was not someone who was going to go into the academy, because at that time, if you were a lesbian and an out lesbian, then you couldn't keep a job in the university. They would fire you. You certainly couldn't get tenure. So I had just, when I came out, I said to myself, well, either I can have job stability or I can do real work. I can do the work that I think needs to be done in the world. I can do the writing, I can do the organizing. I just have to figure out some way to survive.
Minne Bruce Pratt is a very well-decorated author, winning 9 awards, most coming from her best-known book, Crime Against Nature. In this piece, she centers her attention around her own painful decisions she was forced to make in giving up custody of her children. As a result, Pratt's work was designated as the prestigious 1989 Lamont Poetry Selection by the Academy of American Poets, and it was the winner of the 1991 American Library Association Gay Lesbian Book Award.
In her writing, it's apparent her divorce was extremely tough on her, and she was searching for love in her life again. While attending a slideshow lecture in Washington, D.C., her answer came when she fell in love with one of the speakers, Leslie Feinberg, a butch lesbian transgender who is also an accomplished novelist, historian, and transgender activist. Minne Bruce was quoted saying she fell in love with Leslie because of her voice, her vision, and her optimism. Though, sadly, in 2014, Leslie died from multiple infections, including Lyme disease.